Hi guys, well in this video I want to talk about the reasons why people don't invest. I mean, if it's as easy as I say it is, investing in Vanguard ETFs or in property or in a business, why don't people do it? And I'm going to save the last most contentious reason to last. But before I do that, let's have a word from our sponsors. Hello. Apparently we haven't got a sponsor. Well, one of the reasons that people don't invest is because they see it as too long a time scale. You know, it takes a minimum 10 years, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases. But that's the reality of it. There's no such thing as an overnight success. It genuinely isn't. There's no such thing as a get-rich-quick scheme. If you look at all your wealth heroes or the captains of industry, it took them a long time to do it. And so maybe it's worth investing in, accepting that is the time it does take to do this sort of thing. And it needn't be an awful lot of money. You know, £3 a day, which is £100 a month, put that in a Vanguard ETF, get maybe 10% a year, and over 40 years you've got £630,000. It's worth the wait. Do it. Another reason people don't invest is because they don't have the knowledge, or they say, well, I don't know what to do. But there's really no excuse in a modern age. There's loads of stuff you can find on YouTube. I'm hopefully doing my little bit here. But you can go and Google, for instance, go on Google and type in property sources and see what comes up. And if they're larger companies or individuals you don't know and you're not sure whether you should trust them, then perhaps go to Facebook and join a Facebook chat group on property investing, where you get the chance to chat to people who are just a bit further down the road than you are and have experienced some of the stuff that you haven't experienced yet. And they'll be happy, in my experience at least, to give you the knowledge that you want to know in order that you too can join them on the road to wealth. There really is no excuse. What you should be doing is asking yourself, given where I want to be, is what I'm doing now the best use of my time? Now, I don't watch TV at all. I don't even listen to radio in the car. That's because the radio is knackered, but not because of any philosophical choice. I have no choice in that. But I don't watch television. Instead, what I do is I spend 2 hours a day on YouTube watching other people who are wealthy now or on the road to wealth a bit further ahead of me. And I watch what they do, and I copy and hopefully pick up some education on the way, and again hopefully I pass that on to you guys. So there really is no excuse. You've got to get yourself educated. Yet another reason is because they haven't got the belief. They don't believe they can become wealthy. They don't have any friends or relatives who are wealthy, and so it's likely they aren't going to be wealthy, at least in their minds at least. But one of the reasons I set up this YouTube channel was to prove that someone with no skills and qualifications on the minimum wage can become wealthy, so that eventually in 7 years time when I finish my project and become a millionaire, I can say, there you are, I did it, and you can too. You have to have the belief though. Please keep watching the videos, and if you enjoyed it so far, give it a thumbs up. Another reason people don't invest is because they're just lazy. They can't be asked. And you get people like that, don't you? People who just can't be bothered to get off the couch and put down a can of Pringles and do something about their lifestyle. Oh, they want the lifestyle, they'd love to be rich, but when you tell them what it is they have to do, what is required to become wealthy, they say, well, it's not for me. They're just bone idle. And that's why they don't invest. But I'm going to touch on this subject a bit more in a few seconds' time. And finally, the most contentious reason that people don't invest, and here it is, drum roll please, it's because they're thick. Now, that's a not very PC thing to say, so let's give it a number. Let's say if IQ 100 is average IQ, then the thick people are those with an IQ less than 83. And that's an interesting number, 83, because you may not know that in the US, it is illegal to be recruited into the armed forces if you have an IQ less than 83. And that's because what the US Armed Forces have studied over time is if you do recruit someone who has an IQ less than 83, there is nothing they can train them to do that is useful to the armed forces. Now, the US reckon that represents about 10% of their population. And whilst we like to think the Americans are very different from we, the British, the likelihood is because of the same species, they're not, they're pretty much the same. And so that 10% is probably the same in this country here. So let's say we have a population of 65 million, so 6.5 million of us have an IQ of less than 83, and that's why they don't invest. Now, a lot of these so-called reasons aren't reasons at all. What they are character traits. And it brings back that old chestnut. What is it that forms a person's character? Is it nature or nurture? That is to say, were they born that way? Was it genetic, or was it something to do with their upbringing? Well, psychologists can't agree on a number, but what they do all agree on is that it's at least 50% genes. That is to say, you were born that way, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can't change your genes. Which is great news for parents who have unruly kids who have gone off the rails sometime in the past, because what they can say is, well, it wasn't your fault. It was genetic, there's nothing you could do about it, probably. But you know, if much of these character traits are genetically disposed of within a person when they are born, then that might explain why only 10% of people become wealthy in whichever population, whichever nation you're living in. Maybe it's just that these lucky 10% were born with the right genes that made them enthusiastic and made them able to take the actions that the other 90% couldn't. That, of course, added to good upbringing from good parents and good education. But remember, at least 50% of it is genetic. And that brings you to the question of free will. Would you say a person who has an IQ of 83 has the same free will as somebody with an IQ of 120? I would argue not, because the guy with an 83 IQ doesn't have the rationality or the logic to decide what's the best for them, whereas you'd like to hope that the person with 120 IQ could do that. So maybe it's not their fault that people aren't wealthy, it's just the way they were born. Yes, they have free will, but if it's genetically disposed in you, then there's nothing you can do about it. I guess the very best we can do is hope that you and I are amongst those 10% who are genetically disposed to be wealthy. Don't be stupid and don't be normal, guys.